It's a little before 2 o'clock, a couple of minutes to FOMC minutes being released. And this is E for eMiniWizard.com and MarketWizards.com, reminding traders to use risk capital you can afford to lose. We're going to take a look at a little news event and see if we can help traders figure this out. Don't forget, a lot of education is about getting experience and seeing things happen and then being better able and better prepared to handle that in the future. So if you're relatively new to the game, my suggestion is you should be sidelined and watching and learning. And the last post that I had made in the room about 10-15 minutes ago was, if you are long, that you might want to consider taking profits ahead of the news. And why not? Who would want to leave exposed profits if you really don't know where the market's going to go after a news event? So that's the whole point of saying we might get a small pullback in the meantime. So here's your weekly look, and the first level back 86 and a quarter, and that's why I said if you are short, make sure you get paid by 86 and a quarter. And a dime off the top would be 85 and a quarter. We can see this 85, 86 for now with support zone. The day opened 83.75. We'll pay attention there. We had suggested we've got higher targets, but make sure you were paid, we thought, by that 92. We came up with one more target. We said, you know what, maybe you can get that 93.75. We actually had a target 96 as well. But you get to the point where it's too steep, as I said, and you really do need some kind of a pullback. All right, news will come out. Do not go crazy here. Put the mouse in the drawer if you are a conservative trader, and hopefully watch and learn. This was the divergence that I pointed out, how we've got a higher high and lower low with the volume. Larry Williams calls that the jaws of death. And that certainly helped us get the idea of perhaps some kind of a potential small pullback ahead of news. Taking a look at bigger ideas. Can see right where we held this morning. There's a 60-minute chart. And for now, it's a range type trade. Anybody looking at the 10s? Here are our 10-minute chart. Got the push. We're still holding in here in that 85 area, 86. And anything goes in a news type event. Currently, it's trying to test the resistance overhead. And like I said, 93.75 was another target. We should get a little bit of chop and a little volatility. And in a news type event, you want to give a little time to play out directionally. Currently, that 82 pivot supportive. Shorts need to undermine that and keep it coming this way for any good fortune. And the Fed up move has occurred. I find normally we'll get a move into, alongside the leg coming into Fed up. And even after the news a lot, it doesn't even matter what the news is. It'll tend to rise and go up. It just seems to be a pattern. And then we'll look for a sell either later today or typically overnight or tomorrow. So right now, this box, obviously there's 85 to 95 boxes trying to be resolved. And I would be very skeptical about hanging on to anything on new highs. Still considering 82 support. And obviously this 85, 86 area, the aggressive zone. Said today, possibility of hitting that 98. Said possibly we could hit that ahead of news. We did not. got fairly close to it. Remember when I said end row, not ruled out? And then we got that beautiful and drive back to support. Currently, we're using the 98 as resistance. And we said these lows right in here at that 80 area, 79, 75, these are the support lows. This is the squeeze pivot right there. So keep that in mind. And this is double topish right here. Still range type trading. Normally it takes at least 15 minutes to half an hour to resolve. And one of the things we want to do is get a look at doubles, want to get a look at support, and we need to undermine one step at a time, just like we did in the morning for anything that's a pullback. And long side driver, we are still going to consider right here until that breaks. That is our driver right there. Is a 98 resistance. Anybody scalping backwards against the grain here. And the scene of the crime is 88.75. We call that SOC. And I am considering that anybody that is range type trading, we're looking at the aggressive support back here at that 85 area. And then just below it down in here at 79 to 80. That's our primary support right now. Marginal high. And this was our 10-minute chart that's been working. We're going to put it back on a 5 and see how we're bumping into the 5 blue line. And if you want to take a look at something faster, then go look at a 2 or a 3. It's a 2-minute chart. Pretty choppy for a news event, really. Got about a 10-point range. We've come a long way. Don't get too excited long side. A lot of times we'll get these thrusts up into the news, and then shortly thereafter we'll get some kind of a pullback that pretty much similar to what we had this morning. So because the dump was done early today, it freed this up for day traders to help push it back up. But I would not think traders want to overcommit at this range right here. And we're using specific ideas. Right now, we'd say that 85, 86 area is a key support aggressively. There's a 3. There's a 1. And you can see how we use the idea of these moving averages to help us. And then sometimes you'll get just too close to it. You'll need a little bit more room, and you want to see the longer term average. And as we get too far stretched away from it, then we want to think about coming back to it. Now this is intact. So the move down, I'm viewing that as simply a profit-taking move ahead of news. And then the news will start to play out. T2 today was 96.5. Not quite there. And we've had a nice squeeze overnight, and it seems like the day traders have bought today and pushing it up. A reminder, by the end of the day, we're going to have some profit taking, I would expect. And because we've gone from long to high, then we're looking at potentially any new highs can also be shortable today for scalps for profit taking. You can see that double right in here. So got a 10-point box. And the shorts have been held captive so far. Got the plunge and then the bounce back and then chop and then squeeze up to the new highs this afternoon. T2 today was 96.5. This chart here is certainly showing the support. If you have bought support and trying to get to new highs, buying high, selling higher, stops up as we approach this 96.5. That's T2 right there. And my suggestion, remember we had another target that we identified. Doesn't mean it has to hit it today, but we had identified a target up at 2606. So as we get to within 10 points of that, you want to start to be mindful of risk and reward ideas. And normally, if there's a thrust and a little pullback, you try to join what we call join the winning team, go in the direction of that first thrust. That's a normal idea. And this is a fast profits taking, and then it starts to come back in and push. There's a 1-minute chart. And the overnight high, keep an eye on that. That was 87.25. Pretty choppy advance. Normally, you try to pick one side that you like. This has not been a gigantic thrust up. This has been marginal high type stuff. The target 2 for today has been hit. So the real key will be on a pullback. Probably this 87.25, the overnight high. That's currently what our battle should be. Stay above that or not. And I'm looking at this right now as a profit-taking swing. We said today should be a two-way day. Don't trust anything long side or short side. Think of it more as a non-directional type location. You can't expect a crash, certainly. And obviously, at this length of push since the lows, you can't expect a sustained move either. Right there. Payday if you're short. Scene of the crime. Tackled. And don't forget the day open was 83.75, so must be paid by 85. Stops down. Anybody short stops down. Day middle, 82 and a half. Said save some powder for this afternoon. We'll get a little more volatility. Marcus, I put a lot of emphasis on that. We'll talk in a minute. Days open 83.75. So we're battling right now for who wins the day. Typically a 1 or a 2 minute chart, too fast. There's your twos. Still got that 81.25 from yesterday as support idea. Got to be broken. And you can see us coming into, this is just a tad off from the Globex range because we had about a half a point margin at the bottom. And we'd said earlier today, 82 was going to be our pivot. Reminder, right? 82 is still a key pivot. And a lot of times we'll get that first thrust up. And in a really positive environment, those events get built on. And today I said, don't trust it. And you can see why. So don't hang on to the new highs because I just felt this is a game that's been played. A bit leery of hanging on to anything on the upside today, simply because of the range that we've had. It's been up, up, up. We're at the 9th day of the month. Anybody that's buying, if you're using 82 support and it does not work, drop it. This arrow right here, this is what I've got marked as our key support. We break that and it opens the door up to the downside. And we were using 98 resistance, correct? I wanted to short. We said we've got higher targets, but let's use that 98 because T2 was here, 96 and a half. So if you've had a good run, don't squander it. Make sure you paid. If you've only got one contract, by all means, you can drop stops down if you think you got a flyer, but I wouldn't give it too much room. Testing the days open. C pattern, right? Up, down, back to the middle. And the hardest part in trading is having one contract and always having to make a decision. If you've got multiple contracts, then you can scale out and allow another breather, another to work for a trailer. 82 pivot. Bingo. Market is had about 20-25 minutes of reaction time. Note that this leg down, similar to this one earlier, has not had any resistance built up. So when we find a bottom that holds, we can get a pretty good snap still. And we're not going to guess right on every trade, but we are certainly going to guess right on some of them, and we're going to get pieces of the moves as it moves. I wanted to make sure that we had time today to take a look at something like this. And we can see the importance of this double. Once this breaks, then it opens the door to test the subsequent concepts. So this is the all-important one right now. I remember when I first learned this concept of jaws of death. Oh, Larry Williams drew something like this, price going up, volume going down, and then he proceeded to draw some teeth in there or something, make it look like a shark. And that's what he explained. You don't want to see price going up and volume going down. JOD. So check back to the post. You'll see what I had posted earlier, and that caught my eye. And usually if I note something, it's just my intuition at work, and that's why I posted it. Good opportunity to teach you that concept. JOD, jaws of death. Still have 68 support. Fairly lackluster range today. I've got 91.75 as our demon. Angel is still the original angel of the day. And about a half hour in, and a reminder, we try to take pieces of the move. So don't feel you have to stay in the whole time trying to guess every little wiggle. You can jump back in anytime you want as long as you're disciplined and use stops. All right, I hope this one helps.